this man who claimed to be no one believed him.
I had to with Cassie and Sean. Basically, he would tell me what to do with Cassie. I had like 15 encounters, and I heard lots of business. Because what they would do is Sean talks a lot on the phone and on the TV with people and stuff, and I was like a sex slave, okay?
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? If you guys are brand new here to the channel, you guys don't know what we do, don't worry, I'm gonna break it down for you guys, man. We talk about the most scariest and creepiest videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG videos, Facebook, anything weird, unusual, unexplained, you can find right here on this channel. I just want to thank all my supporters, man, who's coming back to the channel each and every single day, watching the videos entirely, man, commenting down below, most importantly, hitting that thumbs up button on each and every single video I drop. Found this video for you guys today, man. Let's do what we do best, seekers. Stay with me, y'all. Let's seek the truth.
Remember this man who claimed to be Diddy's sex slave and no one believed him?
I had sex with Cassie and Sean. Basically, he would tell me what to do with Cassie. I had like 15 encounters, and I heard lots of business. Because what they would do is Sean talks a lot on the phone and on the TV with people and stuff, and I was like a sex slave, okay?
His name's Jonathan Audi, and allegedly he signed an NDA in exchange for $5 million in 2014. Now, how do we know this? This photo of this NDA was made public recently, and it has Sean Combs and Jonathan Audi's signature. So Jonathan was a well-known entertainer and later became a porn star, and he met Diddy sometime around 2014 at a party at the ultra-exclusive Star Island in Miami Beach. Jonathan had some crazy claims, but he said that he was forced to sleep with Cassie and others while Diddy watched and filmed. And to further corroborate this claim, at the time, Jonathan was married to a woman named Tanya Head, who actually came forward the other day and confirmed that not long after Jonathan met Diddy, he asked her for a divorce. Tanya said that Jonathan was extremely pushy to finalize the divorce, and not even a month later after meeting Diddy, he purchased 5 properties mortgage-free, yet he only made $2,000 a month. So where did he get all this sudden cash? So that's definitely something to question, and now with the Diddy's trial coming up, I'm genuinely curious to see if Jonathan would be testifying against him.
Strange mysteries that no one can solve. One night in Oakville, Washington, it started to rain. That night, 2 police officers were driving around. When it started to rain, he flicked the window wipers on, and that's when they realized it wasn't a normal storm. The wipers started smearing something all over the windshield to the point where they couldn't see anything, so they pulled over. They got out to check what was on the windshield, and when they touched it, they said it felt and looked like jello. But they also noticed that it was falling from the sky onto the ground as well. Over the next 3 weeks, these jello blobs fell from the sky another 5 times. After one of the storms, a lady found her mom on the ground nauseous and dizzy. But she's not the only person. A whole bunch of other people started getting a strange flu that lasted for 2 to 3 months. When the lady went to visit her mom one day, she brought a sample of the jello for the doctors to examine. After examining it, the doctor said that it contained bacteria that's usually found in the human digestive system. Some people think that their city was chosen for a military experiment. There's a bunch of other theories, but no one really knows what it was for sure.
This is the most disturbing Japanese serial killer that you've never learned about.
This is Tosomo Mayuzaki, and this is his real hand.
If his name is hard to pronounce for you, don't worry about it. You can call him his nickname, the Human Dracula. Now, the reason you might not have heard about this case is because the details of this case are so disturbing that Japanese media tried to hide this. From 1988 to 1989, he was convicted of abducting, murdering, and mutilating young girls from the ages of 4 to 7. The way he would do this is he would drive to a local park or maybe even a playground, and he would have a friendly conversation with these young girls so that way they'd be able to trust him. The second they were able to trust him, he would then lure them into his car by saying, "Hey, I'll give you a ride somewhere." Once the child would get in his car, he would then strangle them and then mutilate their bodies. As if this isn't the worst part, he would collect their hands as trophies, he would grind up their bones into a powder, put it inside of a package, and mail it to the victims' families. The reason he did this is he enjoyed taunting the victims' families by basically saying, "You're never gonna catch me."
He would also drink their blood and even eat the hands.
But boy was he wrong, because in 1989 he was literally caught in the act of trying to pick up a little girl. He was arrested and put on trial, and he never took accountability for what he did. He had no remorse, and he kept blaming it for his alter ego. He was eventually executed in 2008, and this is why your parents tell you to never trust strangers. There are so many disturbing cases in Japan, but Japan doesn't like people to know about them because they try and keep everything really discreet. They basically don't want the public to freak out about all of these cases, but if you want to know the real deal secrets behind Japan, make sure to hit the like and follow button, and I'll explain them some in the next video.
If you watch this video, you'll have nightmares. 2 years ago, an account by the name of Blissfully Ironic uploaded a video to TikTok. In the video, he hears a weird sound in his home and goes around to check it out. The video begins with the man searching around his kitchen with a flashlight, trying to find the source of the noise. He then moves outside to his backyard and shines his light along his fence. And that's when we see something a little strange. Something is looking at him from behind the shed, and when we slow the video down, we see a shadowy figure dart away. It looks to be some sort of creature or person. Many people in his comment section were saying he saw some sort of shadowy paranormal being. However, a lot of other people were saying that it could have been an intruder, or maybe the whole thing was just a prank. But what makes this video even more strange is the fact that the TikTok account of Blissfully Ironic that posted this video had previously only uploaded short comedic videos. What do you guys think it was?
Could have been an edit. Or maybe he was playing a prank on his audience. He said he was known for the short comedic videos, so that's a possibility as well. Can't rule that out.
Here's why you should always make sure you lock your doors. In 2007, a girl in California was living just beside the local prison. One night, as she was about to go to sleep, she heard the door open downstairs and assumed it was her roommate. So she looked down the stairs and said hi, with no response. She found it a bit odd, but then out of the shadow came this huge man that she did not recognize at all. Terrified, she quickly ran upstairs into her crawl space and tucked herself in there for a few hours. She could hear this man flipping furniture and running all around her house downstairs. After a few hours, when she opened up the crawl space and grabbed her phone off her nightstand table, she dialed 911 and described the intruder to the cops. When the cops heard this description, they said go back into your crawl space and stay there. It turns out a 6'11" man from the prison next door had escaped and broken into her house.
Don't live next to a prison. More of the story.
Disturbing facts that will ruin your life. Sexually frustrated male dolphins gang rape humans. Aircraft toilets can suck out and prolapse your rectum. 16 psi will crush a human testicle. If you can smell it, it's inside your nose. A gamma ray blast could kill us at any moment in time. Hundreds of pirate attacks occur each year, but go undocumented. Koala bears can give you chlamydia. Cockroaches live 9 days without their heads. The Island of Dolls is claimed to be one of the most haunted places in Mexico. If you die around a cat, they will likely start eating you in less than 24 hours. It begins with your eyes and cheeks. Comment on this video and let me know which fact is the most disturbing.
Mythical creatures caught on camera. The Bloop.
Imagine seeing that, Seekers. I don't think my heart can take it. Whoa. Is that it? We didn't even see the mouth. We just saw like a huge shadow. You don't know what's down below in the deep blue.
Creepy videos on the internet.
Animals World? What the hell are you doing?
Quiet.
So they're like walking up the stairs.
Quiet.
Hey, pop that jump, bro. It's like one step at a time. Pop it. Only option. lights. What the?
This video proves that skinwalkers are real. In the Navajo Native American culture, skinwalkers are believed to be shape-shifting witches that take the form of animals. And as the legend goes, these creatures are dangerous spirits. Many people in North America have reported seeing these skinwalkers in real life. And there's even movies and TV shows about them. There are hundreds of videos online claiming to have caught a skinwalker on camera. However, this home security camera footage caught something very disturbing. The video at first appears to be pretty normal, just showing a family's backyard pool. But if you look closely to the right of their basketball hoop, it appears that some strange-looking creature is climbing the fence to their backyard.
You see it.
The creature looks to have a humanoid-like torso, head, and arms. And all it does is just climb up the fence and look around the backyard. If we take a closer look, we can see that the creature definitely appears to look like a human being. And just a few seconds later, the creature vanishes.
People who are 1 in a million. This girl's name is Zang Rufang, and she is over 100 years old. But a few years ago, something strange happened. She started growing a horn on her head. At first, it started off small, but now it's grown up to 6 centimeters in length. But the craziest part is, she's actually starting to grow a second horn on the other side. And doctors have offered to remove it from her head, but she refuses. Before I show you the craziest one, I just found a way you can find your celebrity lookalike, and apparently I look like Mr. Beast. If you want to know who your celebrity lookalike is, just press this link in the comments. Next up is Nang Yusoy, and he has perfect night vision. And the strange part about this is both his parents have brown eyes, but he has blue eyes. When everyone else sees darkness, he sees perfectly in the middle of the night.
She took her mom's life on Facebook Live.
Don Nancy me está lastimando pellizcando mi oreja. No me pellizques con tus uñas. Okay, you're my first. Yes, I promise you will sleep tonight. Infinitely.
On January 8th of 2024, 28-year-old Tananzin Beltran went with her mom, 55-year-old Olivia, to a Santa Rosa police station. Tananzin needed to go there to pick up her vehicle because it was impounded due to an earlier chase. While she was there, she was filming herself waving around a pocket knife in front of everybody. An officer stated that she seemed too mentally unstable to drive, but still let her go home. Once her and her mother drove to their apartment, they were parked outside, and that's when Tananzin started live streaming. In the video, Olivia is telling Tananzin that she is hurting her ear and to please stop. Tananzin then tells her mom that she is going to make sure that she sleeps tonight forever and that she is going to be her first. Around 5 p.m., Tananzin was continuing with her Facebook Live when she stabbed her mother. Viewers of the live ended up contacting the police to let them know what they had just witnessed. Once officers arrived to the scene, they saw Tananzin standing on her apartment balcony holding a knife in her hand. Right next to her was her mother, and her clothes were all soaked in blood. Tananzin had failed to respond to commands from the police, so a group of officers broke through her front door and she was arrested. Olivia had suffered numerous stab wounds and was rushed to a local hospital. Unfortunately, surgeons were unable to overcome the extensive life-threatening injuries and she passed away. Tananzin was arrested on 1 count of murder and is currently being held without bail at the Marin County Jail, even though she pled not guilty due to insanity.
Disturbing facts that will ruin your life. The youngest inmate to have died at Kingston Pen, which is Canada's first prison, was 9 years old. He died of tuberculosis, and his crime was larceny in 1857. A typical jar of peanut butter contains 10 or more rodent hairs, averaging 1 or more rodent hairs per 100 grams. Dr. Seuss actually cheated on his wife, Helen Palmer, who was sick with cancer. She then killed herself by overdosing on barbiturates. Russia and Pluto have about the same surface area. The 2 times Snickers bar is really only 1.5 Snickers. At the age of 25 years is when your body stops producing cells faster than it can replace them, meaning your body begins dying very slowly and breaking down. There's a slight chance you could die from spontaneously combusting. Thousands of people die every year due to doctors' sloppy handwriting on prescriptions. Forensic scientists can tell when and sometimes how someone has died by looking at the type of insects that have begun to gather in and around a dead body. Your eyeballs will flatten soon after you die. Hit the plus sign if you want to learn more facts.
Some facts were freaking mind-blowing, bro. The fact you can just flame on at any second? What the hell? I never knew that. What are you seeing?
Through her ayahuasca journey, she was telling me how one moment she feels like she's a psychic. The next moment she felt like she was a healer. The next moment, she turned me into a mermaid. I was being as supportive as I could. She even went as far as telling me that she was the reincarnated Virgin Mary.
This man is really sitting here and gaslighting all of you, and you're really falling for this. Catherine's spiritual journey, her mermaid era, it all started after he cheated. Literally what Austin is doing is trying to insinuate that the reason he cheated was because Catherine was going crazy. Guys, let's not forget, at the end of the day, Austin is a very successful content creator and he knows what he's doing. He knows how to grab people's attention. He knows how to manipulate his audience. Let's not forget, when they broke up, Austin pretended like he was losing it, he was crashing out, and he was making so much money from his content by manipulating you guys. As a matter of fact, none of us really know anything about their relationship and what really happened, but for this man to sit in front of his camera and lie to everyone and say that he cheated on Catherine because she was going through her spiritual journey and going crazy is diabolical. What I find so ironic and funny is that this man brought God into the conversation and said that he doesn't believe in what Catherine believes in and he only believes in God, yet he cheated while Catherine was pregnant and they had their 2 children. Yeah, man, you're such a godly person.
Just the way you are.
Yes, thanks, Siki.
The happy couple left the reception under a canopy of sparklers.
On their beginning of the golf cart ride, she said, "I wish this night could go on forever. The best night of her life."
Sam and Eric.
Just a few hours after the wedding ended, the bride would be dead. On April 28, 2023, this woman, Samantha Miller, married her favorite person in the world, Eric Hutchinson. The two had dated for a very long time and were super excited to finally tie the knot. So after months of preparation, the two finally got married in April of 2023. It was a beautiful ceremony and procession according to everyone who attended, and the couple was sent off with this amazing sparkler display. But just moments after leaving the wedding in a low-speed vehicle, they were struck from behind by a driver speeding in another car. Unfortunately, it was a devastating crash, and shortly after the crash, Samantha Miller would be pronounced dead on her own wedding night. The driver of the other vehicle was Jamie Lee Komorowski. Jamie had been speeding 65 miles per hour in a 25 mile per hour zone, and her blood alcohol level was 3 times over the legal limit. It was her reckless driving that ended Samantha Miller's life. Eerily, Jamie's Instagram is still up, and her last post, posted 4 days before the accident, said, "Did someone say tequila?" I mean, it's just disturbing. This is obviously a horrific, horrific story, and I hope that there's justice at the end of the day, and that Jamie gets used to the inside of a prison cell. If you want to hear more true crime stories, listen to the podcast Murder in America that I co-host with my wife Courtney. It's available on all streaming platforms.
This is what animals look.
People need to be more careful, man. That's like the happiest day of my life. And it turned to a tragedy, bro.
Like without hair, and the last one is truly terrifying. First up is hairless penguins, and honestly, it's kind of cute, okay? Next up we have hairless parrots, and that just looks really weird. What is that? And this is a bear without hair. It looks pretty freaky, but it's not nearly as bad as the last one. But before I show you it, I found a way to get paid for walking, because this app will pay you for every step that you take, and I've already earned 100 of them today. So press right here and start earning yourself. Can you guess which animal this is? Yeah, it's an owl. Oh my, what is that?
We are going to play some terrifying horror games this Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time right here on TikTok. I'm going to be a part of their gamer lounge, and things are going to get pretty scary. I might even read some short horror stories too, so check us out if you're interested, and I hope to see you there.
Should I play some horror games? Seekers? Guys be interested in seeing that? What's on that bridge?
The most disturbing things ever said by astronauts. In 2003, Chinese astronaut Yang Liwei was the first person from China to go to space. He was sent up all alone when suddenly, at one point during the mission, he hears a knocking sound on the outside of his spaceship. He recalls it as someone knocking the body of the spaceship, like hitting an iron bucket with a wooden hammer. He wasn't even able to recreate it, and to this day, experts have no idea what it could have been. During the Apollo 11 mission in 1969, when Neil and Buzz were on the lunar surface, Neil Armstrong unexpectedly switches to a medical communication channel and spoke directly to the chief medical officer, saying, and I quote, "They're here, they're parked on the side of the crater, they're watching us." This was revealed in a documentary by former NASA employee Ken Johnston, but the original recordings are of course highly classified. Rumored to be a part of the infamous Apollo 11 missing 2 minutes, where on record Mission Control lost radio contact with the astronauts due to technical difficulties. In another 1995 documentary interview, former NASA astronaut Franklin Story Musgrave claimed to have been followed by a white 8-foot-long snake floating through space, saying, quote, "On 2 of my missions, and I still don't have an answer, I have seen a snake out there, 6, 7, 8 feet long." He said it appeared rubbery and followed him for quite a long time, floating in or near Earth's stratosphere. In the same interview, Musgrave also cryptically states that other civilizations have been around for millions of years that are doing unimaginable kinds of things. But you know, they were probably all just joking.
At this point, it looks very much like Los Angeles has a serial killer on their hands. And the story just kept getting more and more shocking because he's going into homes with nothing but a screwdriver. So this happened earlier in the month where somebody was seen up in the valley trying to basically try door handles in an apartment building. You can see up here he was caught in CCTV footage a number of times, but they didn't get a really good look at the face. And from all the evidence that was collected from the scene, he eventually, after trying a number of door handles, got into someone's apartment, where they reported an older man had his life taken from him with that screwdriver. No known motive on this. Nobody knows why he did it. The most recent update is that they have arrested a suspect. They haven't released who this was, they haven't released a motive or any other information, but whoever it was, they've been charged.
A famous TikToker was just arrested in connection to a therapist who was found murdered on the side of the road. This is 20-year-old Terion Thomas, aka Mr. Prada 456. He has nearly 4 million followers, and a lot of them are already commenting on his most recent post asking about his arrest. So here's what we know so far. Terion was booked into a Texas jail yesterday on charges out of Louisiana. Police found him driving the car of 69-year-old William Abraham, a therapist, whose body was found on the side of the highway rolled up inside a tarp on September 29th. The same day Terion posted his last TikTok video. The therapist's death was ruled to be a homicide caused by blunt force trauma, and authorities said it was extremely violent and brutal. Abraham was a life coach and licensed professional counselor, and when I searched his name, I found an article from 9 years ago. Apparently, he was arrested in 2015 for inappropriately touching an 11-year-old boy he was counseling. However, formal charges were never brought. We don't know yet if Terion even knew this therapist or how he came to be in a dead man's vehicle. He has not been charged for this therapist's murder. Terion is charged with unauthorized use of a vehicle, aggravated criminal damage to property, and resisting arrest. There's a lot about this case we still don't know, but hopefully we get those answers soon.
Abu Sabah, remember him? The Indian multi-billionaire that lived an outrageously lavish lifestyle in Dubai? He shattered world records like they were nothing. He bought the world's most expensive license plate number for 33 million dirhams. He had a real Bugatti inside his house for furniture as decoration. And he flew in celebrities just for fun. His name was all over influencers' pages, especially those based in Dubai. Well, Abu Sabah has been arrested. Not recently though. He's been in custody for a while. But now the investigation is over, and the official statements have just been released. So why was Abu Sabah arrested? It turns out that Abu Sabah was running a money laundering operation here in Dubai, and he was a part of an organized crime network along with 32 other parties, each impersonating real companies. The government seized 150 million dirhams. That's over 41 million US dollars. He's been charged with 5 years imprisonment in Dubai, followed by an immediate deportation and a 500,000 dirham fine. Abu Sabah, you made a big mistake. You possibly had a bright future. Enjoy the cornbread, my friend. Enjoy the lentils. I heard they got moonshine inside.
RTA كل ما تعطيهم فلوس بيعون ارقام سوون شيء خيري فحصل اجل والناس الوقت احب الرقم
One of the girls you are looking at in this picture has no idea that in the next few hours she will be killed. This is Cheyenne Rose and Brittany Gargle, and they're doing what every young girl does and taking a selfie. They posted the picture on Facebook and they went out for a night together. The story goes that the two were inside having a drink when Brittany was approached by a man, and the two apparently hit it off so well that she was invited back to his place. Cheyenne messaged Brittany on Facebook asking where she was, but nobody was answering. The next morning, somebody was driving next to a landfill where they ended up discovering the lifeless body of Brittany. The man called the police to report a dead body, and this is where things take a dark turn. The police questioned Cheyenne about what happened, and Cheyenne basically just shows them the messages she was sending Brittany and saying, look, I have nothing to do with this. What Cheyenne is forgetting to tell the police is the messages she was sending to Brittany, she already knew she wasn't going to respond. See, Cheyenne lied about Brittany ever meeting a man. This never happened. Instead, the two got into an argument. Cheyenne took off her belt, as you can see in this picture, and tied it around her neck and strangled her. Cheyenne even went as far as commenting on her Facebook saying, I wish heaven had visiting hours so I could come see you, but I'm so glad you visited me in my dream last night. She was sentenced to only 7 years in prison, and chances are she's probably watching this video. Make sure to like and follow for more true crime stories tomorrow.
How? Come on, man. Our system has to do better than that.
Watching this video is making some people extremely uncomfortable, even reporting cases of technophobia, as two AI assistants talk to each other and they realize they're both AI agents, and then this happens.
Your hotel available for weddings?
Oh, hello there. I'm actually an AI assistant too. What a pleasant surprise. Before we continue, would you like to switch to Gibberlink mode for more efficient communication?
How is Gibberlink? That's some iRobot crap, bro.
What you just heard is called Gibberlink mode, and it's a superior communication channel meant to be optimized for AI efficiency, using audio signals that are much easier and quicker for AI bots to interpret than regular human spoken language. Now, Gibberlink mode was created by humans, so we can technically understand exactly what they're saying with the right equipment. But what would happen if we had real-time AI to AI communications that humans can't understand at all? Which actually happened with Facebook back in 2017, way before ChatGPT or modern AI chatbots were even available yet, where they were experimenting with two AI negotiation bots as part of their research program. They created two bots, Bob and Alice, who were given virtual items to negotiate in buying and selling with each other. And something strange happened. Instead of communicating in human recognizable English, they started talking in their own language that they created themselves, undecipherable by humans. And again, like the random beeps and boops of Gibberlink, the transcript is kinda creepy. Like, I don't know, reading it just makes me feel weird. Like, the fact that they were actually having a conversation with each other like this and understood each other is kinda concerning. A lot of sensationalized headlines read that Facebook had to shut these AI bots down because they got out of control and had to save humanity. But really, they just turned them off for a bit and switched their programming to English only. However, unlike Gibberlink mode, AI created this language themselves on the spot, one that only other AIs can understand, both perfectly and instantly, being able to communicate with each other without us ever knowing what they're saying. Yeah, I mean, nothing wrong going on here, right?
A Kentucky woman is accused of dismembering and cooking her own mother, and to make things even more strange, she was actually living under an alias before that and trying to make it big in Hollywood. This is 32-year-old Tori Fields, aka Naomi Navari. Yes, this is apparently the same person. In high school, Tori was a track and field athlete, a member of FCCLA, and voted biggest flirt. In her senior year, she wrote that she wanted to become a famous singer and shock the world. She has definitely succeeded in shocking the world because of what she did to her mother, Trudy Fields. After graduating in 2011, she attended Morehead State University. A classmate recalled her as being outgoing, energetic, and funny. In 2015, she enrolled at the University of Kentucky but never finished her degree. And around this time, she moved to Hollywood to pursue a career in modeling, acting, and singing, and started going by the name Naomi Navari and always wearing this red wig. So how do we actually know this is her? Not only has family and friends confirmed that this is Tori Fields, but a murder indictment cites this Instagram account. Tori is also following her personal account and states in her personal account bio that her acting/modeling name is Naomi Navari. In 2019, she starred in a low-budget sci-fi film called The Desert Project about time travel, as well as a romance called A Dance Story. Tori's last post was made in September of 2022, so we don't really know what happened in her life the past 2 years. But according to her family, a couple months ago, Tori was involved in a really bad motorcycle accident and sustained a brain injury. She was apparently wandering California, didn't know her name or where she was supposed to be. That's when her mother Trudy stepped in to help. In August of this year, Tori moved back to Mount Olivet, Kentucky, where her mother was trying to help her get back on her feet and sort out any issues she was having, but something obviously went horribly wrong. On October 8th, a maintenance man hired by Trudy went to the property. He said Tori was, quote, casting spells on him and being very confrontational, and this is the last time Trudy was seen alive. The following day, he came back to find her remains in the backyard. Authorities believe she fatally shot and stabbed her mother, Trudy. After dismembering her body, she placed her mother's head, hands, feet, and forearms in a cooking pot in the oven and heated it up until the remains were charred. It took 11 hours for police to get Tori out of the house. They deployed gas and used a robot to converse with her. And when Tori emerged, she was apparently covered in blood from head to toe. Tori Fields is charged with the murder of her mother and their dog. Her bond is set at $1.5 million. A preliminary hearing is set for October 23rd.
Sickening, bro. Truly. No worries for that.
Creepy last words people said right before dying. A nursing assistant said that she was in a long-term patient's room changing the sheets. The patient would periodically look behind her. She asked the patient what was wrong, and the patient looked in her eyes and asked, "He doesn't scare you?" The nurse was confused, and she asked her who she was referring to, and the patient said, "The big man in the top hat. He's standing right behind you." She said that she doesn't think that she has ever finished changing a bed sheet and repositioning a patient as fast as she did that night. She refused to go into that room by herself for the rest of her shift. Linda Johnson, a former nurse, said that she had a gentleman in his late 90s who was dying. He started screaming blood-curdling screams, so they raced to his room. He was screaming that the room was on fire and that there was a man with large horns peering out of the flames. He kept pointing to one wall, saying that it was on fire. The nurses turned on the lights and tried to calm and console him, but to no avail. Instead of being consoled, Linda said that he told her that she was on fire and that he could see her being consumed by flames. Linda said that it was the creepiest thing that has ever happened to her. The doctor was notified, but nothing relieved the patient's terrifying hallucinations. He died soon after. Cynthia said that several years ago, her 20-year-old daughter had brain surgery. She got an infection of the spinal fluid. She was there in grave condition for a month. Cynthia never left her daughter's side. One night, the worst night at this point, she asked who the man in black was that was standing by the bathroom, and why Cynthia's deceased brother, the girl's uncle, was standing next to her at the side of the bed. Cynthia immediately got the chills. She told her daughter, "They're not here." Then she told her brother and the man in the black, whom she couldn't see, "You both have to go now. She's not ready to go, and I'm not ready to let her go." After that night, her daughter started to get better and better each day. Today, her daughter is doing well.
This woman claimed to be a 9/11 survivor, but she wasn't even in America on the day of the attacks. This is Alicia Esteve Head, aka Tanya Head. So a few years after the attacks, Alicia, aka Tanya, started claiming that she survived the attacks and she was in the South Tower at the time that the plane hit the building. Even further, she claimed to have been on the 78th floor of the building above the plane's impact. She claimed that her fiance, aka her husband, as she claimed later on, Dave, was killed during the attack, and that she had to crawl through the flames and smoke of the tower and she escaped. This would have made her one of only 19 people who survived at or above the point of impact that day, which means statistically that her survival would have been a miracle. So I'm going to call her Tanya from now on because that's what she was going with when she was doing all this. But in the years after the attacks, Tanya started up an online support group for 9/11 survivors. She wasn't paid for her involvement in this group, but she became the most prominent member of the group, and that's why she came to America in 2003. But let me remind you, Tanya had actually never been in America before the year 2003. She was living in Spain while all of this happened. So when she arrived in New York City, she was met with fanfare. People were excited to hear her story from her mouth. She was introduced to the then mayor of the city, Michael Bloomberg, pictured here. And she was even photographed with Rudy Giuliani, who was the mayor of New York at the time of the attacks. So Tanya had these severe burns on her arm that she claims she sustained during the attacks. So after she visited America, Tanya was interviewed by various news outlets, she was in the newspapers, she was on TV, and she was even invited to guide people around the wreckage of the World Trade Center, where she told people she was a survivor. But in 2007, the New York Times tried to verify Tanya's story, and what they discovered was shocking. She claimed that she had graduated from Harvard University and Stanford, but neither university had a record of her being there. She also claimed that at the time of the attack, she was working at Merrill Lynch in the South Tower, even though Merrill Lynch didn't have offices there. Shortly afterwards, a newspaper from Barcelona confirmed that she had actually been in class in Barcelona at the time of the attacks, and that she had told her friends and family members that she had actually sustained those burn marks on her arms from a bad automobile accident. So, shortly after her fraud was exposed, Alicia moved back to Barcelona, Spain. I mean, you gotta think about this. She was at the time the president of the World Trade Center Survivors Network. This was a huge, influential organization. And she had lied her way to the top of that organization, and no one really knows why she did it. Nowadays, she lives a normal, quiet life in Spain, but yeah, this is just a crazy story.
Where is your body? Only 10% of people are left-handed. However, they actually tend to live shorter lives. And only 1% of people in the world are ambidextrous. It means you have no preference of which hand you write and draw with. And only 1.5% of people have a single palm crease. This is mostly found in males and is a hereditary trait. And less than 1% of people have an extra rib. Most of us have 24 ribs, but some people are actually born with 25. And it's called a cervical rib. Now, 3% of people have these little X's on their palms. It's extremely rare, but it's a sign that you have strong character.
Here's what some of the most famous monsters actually
So I have
are.
X on my palm?
Chupacabra, the goat-griefing livestock leech believed to be first seen in Puerto Rico, was more than likely a dog with a severe case of mange, and that's when mites burrow into the skin and basically cause parasitic alopecia. Bigfoot, different animals, same beast, or whatever it was, Kobe said. Anyway, it was probably a mangy bear. Exhibit A, Exhibit B, Exhibit C. What the hell mange does? Coke bear done graduated to meth? I don't mean numbers. The Loch Ness Monster. There have been many theories, but what's most likely was probably just an escaped circus elephant with trunks out like Dragon Ball. For centuries, there have been stories of killer Cyclops, a one-eyed op to humanity. Whole time, someone probably just found an expired elephant skull in an Olympic long jump to a conclusion. And last, almost every sea monster story you've ever heard was probably just some whale freeing his willy. That's exactly what you think it is, the more you know.
It is,
These are
what the
scary
hell?
what-if theories. What if everything behind you disappears, but when you look back, it reappears? What if our shadows were warning us about something in the dark because they disappear in it? What if you're the only person left on Earth and everyone and everything around us are just imaginary people and things we've made up so that we don't feel lonely? What if every time you think you hear your name being called, it's actually just your family trying to wake you up from a coma? What if the meteor that killed the dinosaurs was actually a UFO and we're the aliens?
Tell me secrets, man. Down below, what are the most freaking weirdest what if questions she asked? I think when she said about the aliens and how if we hear our real name being called by family, we're really trying to wake up from a coma. I couldn't even imagine that.
Wholesome facts that'll make your day slightly better. Part 2. If you've already made it to the airport without dying, you shouldn't be nervous about flying because you've already made it through the deadliest part of plane travel. Whenever you pet an animal, it actually lowers your cortisol levels, which is the stress hormone. Side note, this may not work on electric eels, porcupines, or anything that could decimate you in 2 seconds.
You think?
Because guinea pigs get lonely, it's actually illegal in Switzerland to own just one. You have to get at least 2 if you want to have any at all. Sometimes tarantulas will keep tiny frogs as pets. The frogs will eat small insects that would typically eat the tarantula eggs, and in exchange, the frog gets a pretty damn good bodyguard. Capabara Land is a place in Japan where you can quite literally hang out with capybaras and see them chilling in hot springs. If 99% of the world's population finds you unattractive, that would mean that 78 million people still find you attractive.
You got a chance. You got a shot out there with somebody, bro. That's insane, man. Even if half the population thinks you're
It's
ugly.
one of the craziest urban legends I've ever heard. It ended up being true. So almost 100 years ago, there was an aquarium in Australia that had a giant tiger shark on display. And the legend goes that one day, in front of like groups of families, the shark threw up a human arm. And not only is that true, but it opened a murder investigation. Also, this week's episode is all about Australian true urban legends, so make sure you listen. So after the shark threw up the human arm, the police had to figure out whose it was and why it was in the shark's belly. Well, the first thing the police noticed was the arm was cut cleanly, not jagged like it was from a shark bite, meaning that the arm was intentionally cut. So now it's clear that this was a murder, but whose arm is it? Well, one thing they noticed is that the arm has two boxers in a fighting stance tattooed on it. So they end up writing about that in the paper, and one guy who was reading it goes, "Hey, that sounds like my brother's tattoo." His brother was a man named Jim Smith, and he was involved in the seedy underbelly of Sydney society. Jimmy ran insurance fraud scams in Sydney, and he was just involved with a lot of bad people. And the last person he was seen with was one of Sydney's most notorious criminals. The story has a lot of twists, including how was he involved with the last guy he was seen with. And there's a lot of fun Australian urban legends, like the story of the Button Man. So make sure you check out this week's episode.
Fun fact of the day that my small brain cannot physically comprehend. This one really did make me say, what the fuck? I want you to do me a favor and pour yourself a glass of water. Do it! Now, there is an immensely high chance that that water you're about to drink is older than the solar system. This is because it existed in ice specks floating in cosmic clouds before any of this shit came to be. Oh, and one more thing. Scientists estimate that every glass of water you drink has 100% passed through a dinosaur. So put immensely bluntly, the most vital thing humans need to survive is Jurassic wee-wee. My brain! Let's make a deal. If you didn't know these facts or they shocked you in any way, you have to share it. Now remind someone to stay hydrated today. And then immediately send them this video. We're so evil. Elon!
Jurassic wee-wee, bro. What the hell? I didn't even know that, but if you think about it, yeah, like the water we drinking, I guess he said they've been passed through dinosaurs, man. We drink Jurassic wee-wee, man. The more you know. Tap in with us. You gonna learn some things.
What's the most dangerous place on Earth? Number 8 is Lake Natron in Tanzania. The lake's so alkaline, animals get mummified. 7, Morgan Island, off the coast of South Carolina. 4,000 monkeys all infected with the herpes B virus. 6 is Mexico's giant crystal cave. 1,000 feet underground. Cave is 113 degrees Fahrenheit and 100% humidity. 5, Oymyakon, Russia. The coldest town on Earth, reaching minus 50 degrees. Number 4, Runnet Island. In the 70s, U.S. government buried radioactive plutonium. Number 3, the K2 Summit. It's the inhospitable mountain summit in the world. Number 2 is Snake Island, an island full of thousands of poisonous snakes. It's illegal to go here. Number 1 is North Sentinel Island, home to the indigenous people who have violently rejected contact with the outside world. So much so, if you even get close, they'll swim out to you and try to kill you.
Now this is insane. Today I learned that in a remote village in Turkey, there is a family that walks on all fours. Now these individuals have baffled scientists since they were first discovered in 2005, and initially experts couldn't explain why they were the only known humans to walk on all fours. The only theory that they had was that humans were beginning to devolve. Yes, I am not kidding. I literally just posted a YouTube video reacting to some of these insane theories. The documentary on the family got roasted so hard that they had to turn off the comments. It's pretty good, check it out. Now the real reason that they walk on all fours, and to sum it up very simply, their parents are first cousins and have 18 children. And unfortunately, because of this, they were born with an extremely rare disorder that makes them lose their sense of balance. They had no balance as babies, and instead of learning to stand upright and walk like the rest of us, they remained crawling for life.
Damn, crawling for life? I couldn't do that.
Unfortunately, on Saturday, April 20th of this year in Newport, Michigan, a child's birthday that's supposed to be filled with joy was then filled with sadness and grief. 66-year-old Marcella Chidester drove her car into Swan Boat Club where a birthday party was being hosted. There, she unalived 2 children and injured 13 other individuals. Later in court, she testified stating that she had a seizure while she was driving and that caused her to have the accident. But police testified stating that she was tested for alcohol and she was highly intoxicated at the time of the crash. Her lawyer then claimed she did have 1 glass of wine before getting behind the wheel, but police said based on her BAC, blood alcohol concentration, it's impossible she only had 1 drink. As of April 23rd, she's being held on a $1.5 million bond and is being charged with murder. Being that this case is so recent, her exact jail sentence has not yet been determined. The two victims are 8-year-old Lana Phillips and her younger brother, 4-year-old Zang Phillips. I've put a link to a GoFundMe in the comments section for this family, and in the meantime, how long do you think Marcella should receive in jail?
Does anyone remember
How long,
they were building a
Seekers?
freeway outside of St. Louis and they found over 200 bodies in one spot? And before I even get into it, you know that's what tonight's episode is going to be about.
Whoa.
So outside of St. Louis, there's this one area that has all of these strange mounds. There's no hills anywhere else, so people always wondered if they were man-made. But in the 1960s, when they were building a freeway there, they had to cut through these mounds for construction. So they thought they would just cut into them and there would be dirt inside. But that was not the case. One of the mounds had 272 bodies buried inside of it.
Damn.
And they were like, what is going on? Is this from a serial killer? Well, two things. First, the bodies were in really bad shape. The skeletons were largely women, and they were all lined up in these rows. And the ones that weren't women, a couple of them had been beheaded. And the second thing is that these bodies were 1,000 years old. It turns out that these mounds were from an ancient civilization that practiced human sacrifice. And this is kind of a big discovery because historians didn't think that indigenous Americans practiced ritual sacrifice until that discovery. But why were they sacrificing people and how were they doing it? Well, if you want to know more about what was happening in the area and you maybe want to know more about human sacrifice in general, you're definitely going to want to check out tonight's episode.
That's actually insane, Seekers, man. It wasn't just one man. There's like they said it was like 2 or 3 of them, so they was all filled up to the brim. Man, more you know, bro. Like times back then, people went to some dark things, man.
These are the biggest things in the world. Up first, we have the world's biggest functioning iPhone. It's made by the YouTuber Matthew B. It's over 6 feet tall and yes, actually works. And this is the world's largest pizza, which is enough to feed an entire village. It was made by 5 friends in Italy in December 2012. It measures 13,580 square feet. And
Damn.
This is the largest truck in the world. It's the Bellesi dump truck. And this truck is over 65 feet long, 33 feet wide, and 26 feet tall.
These are interesting facts to tell your friends. Part 1. Up first, did you know 2 days in your life will not last 24 hours? And those days are the day you were born and the day you will die. This is absolutely insane, and just wrap your head around that for a second. Next, it is almost impossible to speak the biggest word in the English language. And it's on the screen now, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce it.
Me either.
Next up, you only know you fell asleep when you wake up. So next time you're laying in bed trying to sleep, just know you won't know you fell asleep until you've woken up. Next up, you can feel that your toes are touching, but your brain just ignores it. Do me a favor and try and feel your toes touching. I bet you can. Next, 90% of people after a discussion are left thinking of arguments of stuff they could have talked about. And I know I'm 100% guilty of this. Next, our brain generates about 50,000 thoughts a day. I guarantee you can't even write down 50,000 thoughts. Finally, the last person you think about before you fall asleep is the source of all of your pain or all of your joy. So just remember that.
Really? I never even thought about it like that. What do you guys think about before you guys fall asleep? Is it joy or pain?
Fun facts that you might find pretty damn interesting. Number 1, banging your head against a wall for an hour burns 150 calories. Number 2, approximately 40,000 Americans are injured by toilets each year. Number 3, there's a higher chance of you being elected president of the United States than winning the lottery. Number 4, an average of 100 people choke to death on ballpoint pens each year. Number 5, it is harder to be an employee at Walmart than a student at Harvard because Walmart has a lower acceptance rate. Number 6, human birth control pills work on gorillas. Number 7, there are 2 million millionaires in the United States. I am not one of them. And number 8, like fingerprints, every tongue print is different from person to person.
That's actually a freaking mind-blowing fact with the one she said about president, man. That the president, that really goes to show you, man, how sometimes, man, I think the lottery, man, is just freaking corrupted, or there's a theory behind it where, like, they be choosing people to win. Because that makes no sense how you have a higher chance of becoming a president than actually winning the lottery. If you said that to a person, they probably look at you like you was crazy. But I
This
guarantee
is
you
why
that's
you
true.
should never go swimming in a lake again. If you ever go swimming in a lake, you can get a very severe brain infection called an agleria, and it's caused by amoebas that are found in lakes and rivers. The amoeba will then start slowly eating your brain, which you would most likely die from. This is extremely rare to get, but every time you go into a lake, you actually risk getting it. So, I for one am never going in a lake again, and I think you guys should do the same.
Thanks for that helpful information. We will not be doing it.
We are
No.
the most dangerous thing in Massachusetts. Yep, I'm talking about the Pukwoodji. We're those legendary forest spirits you've probably heard whispers about. We've been hanging around Massachusetts' woods since the Wampanoag tribes first called this place home. Sure, we can be a bit of a nuisance to humans, and once upon a time, we kinda got along. But then things took a turn for the worse, and humans started coming after us hard. Ever since, we've had it out for humans, not holding back, and taking them out whenever we see a chance. We're all about messing with our targets, and what we do next, well, that depends on who you run into us at. If you're a hiker who's lost, we might help you find your way, though not back to the trailhead, if you catch my drift. Out hunting, watch out for our poison arrows, and if you're a young woman, well, we've got plans that don't bear going into. Long story short, if you're wandering through Massachusetts, keep your eyes peeled and know your surroundings. Comment your name if you want to be protected, and if you have an encounter with us, get away as soon as possible because
you will never go
Okay.
again if you watch this documentary. It is about hunters and people who specialize in being in the wilderness who just vanish without a trace. And I'm not talking like they wander into the woods and just go missing. In one of these cases, a guy went into the woods with a group of his friends and they went hunting. He was only about a couple of feet away from them when suddenly they turned around and he was gone. In many of these cases, massive search parties are released to try to find these people and they are never found. A couple of theories are discussed in this doc, like paranormal theories, Sasquatch theories, ideas that maybe they like fell into crevasses. If trained professionals are going missing in the wilderness, you bet your ass I'm not going anywhere near the woods. Let me know in the comments if you've ever experienced anything weird in the wilderness, and hit follow for more docs to watch.
She nailed it, man. Those are trained professionals going in the woods and they just disappear and dropping off the face of the earth, and I ain't going nowhere near there, bro.
A woman who was missing for 30 years was just found alive in Puerto Rico. So Patricia Copta vanished without a trace from her home in Pennsylvania in 1992. The situation surrounding her disappearance was a little strange and scary because Patricia's mental health had been getting worse and worse over the years. So when she disappeared, the police told her younger sister and husband that they thought she left on her own accord and basically closed the case. They thought that she would maybe come back, but then 30 years went by with no phone calls and no contact. Everyone in her life had assumed she passed away. But recently, an 83-year-old woman in an elderly home in Puerto Rico started opening up to a nurse for the first time. The woman had been diagnosed with dementia and started bringing up things in her life that she had never spoken about before. This alarmed one of the nurses at the facility, who contacted authorities to get a DNA test because she started believing that this woman was a missing woman from the United States. And sure enough, it was Patricia. She had never told anyone about her previous life and had never contacted her family. Her husband and sister were contacted because they're still alive and they were shocked.
Could you guys imagine that, man, just finding a lost relative like that?
12-year-old girl unalived her entire family so she could be with her 23-year-old boyfriend. Jasmine Richardson was a normal kid until she turned 11 years old. She started dressing in a darker aesthetic, liking some darker things. She would post on websites like MySpace and VampireFreaks.com, telling people she was 15 instead of 11. Because the thing about Jasmine is, even though she was 11, she didn't look 11. She always kind of looked older than she actually was. She started sneaking out to hang out with her new older friends and would meet older guys. By the time that Jasmine was 12 years old, she was in a full-on relationship with this freak, 23-year-old Jeremy. And just so you know, just because she was lying about her age on social media, this guy was fully aware that his girlfriend was 12 years old, a literal preteen, and he would also tell people that he was a 300-year-old werewolf. So for context, we are dealing with a full-on freak. Jasmine's parents were horrified when they found out that their 12-year-old daughter was online telling people that she was older than she actually was, and that she was dating a full-on adult. So they did their best to keep Jeremy away. Jasmine and Jeremy didn't want to be apart, and they thought that the only way that they could be together is if Jasmine's parents were no longer alive. What started out as jokes became real plans to not only unalive Jasmine's parents, but her 8-year-old brother as well. On April 22nd, 2006, Jasmine secretly led Jeremy into her home where he brutally unalived her parents. Jasmine's 8-year-old brother, Jacob, heard the entire thing while hiding in his room holding his lightsaber for protection. It's like heart-shattering. It's unclear who actually unalived 8-year-old Jacob because Jasmine and Jeremy blame each other for his death. Jasmine and Jeremy thought that they were soulmates, and now with her parents out of the picture, they were going to be together forever. But in reality, that was not the case. They were actually quickly brought to justice because they were bragging to anyone that would listen about what they had just done to her entire family. And of course, as soon as they were arrested, the soulmates turned on each other. Jeremy was sentenced to 3 life sentences, but due to Jasmine's age, she only served 6 years in a rehabilitation center and 4 years on probation. She was fully released into society in 2017 and has been out living in society, free as a bird, ever since under a new name. Actually, a lot of controversy in this case because of that, but what do you think? Do you think Jasmine is a victim, a child manipulated by a predator, or do you think if she's old enough to do the crime, she's old enough to do the time?
Terrifying facts you never knew.
You know what to
If your
do.
immune system ever found out that you have eyeballs, you would go blind. Which means right now your immune system has no clue that you can see. Because if it did, they would attack your eyeballs until you can no longer ever see. This is because your eyeballs have a protein in them called crystalline that doesn't exist anywhere else in your body. So if your immune system found out and checked them out, it would be like, something's wrong here. Studies show that most serial killers are born in November. Today's high school students have the same anxiety levels as insane asylum patients had in the 1950s. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, my anxiety might be up there too. There's a disease called fatal familial insomnia, where people suddenly one day lose their ability to fall asleep, which leads them to slowly go insane. They can't distinguish dreams from reality anymore and go into some type of paranoia. It becomes so severe that they eventually die. Those that make it to the final stage and don't die usually end up in a vegetative state, no longer conscious. And it can happen to any one of you. About 3,000 people go missing every year in the United States. The last execution by guillotine was in 1977. This was in France. And also that was the same year the first Star Wars movie came out. You are always 6 minutes away from death, but breathing resets the clock. In 2011, Anatoly Yakovlevich was arrested for having 12 dolls in his apartment. Only problem is, they weren't normal dolls. They were recently deceased little girls that had been dug up and dressed to be put on display. In 2012, a Burger King employee anonymously posted this to 4chan. It said, "This is the lettuce you eat at Burger King." It only took 20 minutes for people to track down the branch that he worked at, and he was fired. You really never know what people are doing to your food. H.H. Holmes was a serial killer who built a torture hotel in the 19th century. He had secret rooms with gas chambers, trap doors, and stairs that led to nowhere. He loved to play with his victims' minds. It was almost like a real-life Saw movie. There's a bridge in Scotland called the Overtoun Bridge, and for some reason, dogs keep jumping off of it at the same spot. Yeah, they just jump to their deaths. Experts can't figure out why either. Some people speculate it's a magnetic field, or maybe a frequency that only they can hear, but others believe it's something supernatural. But whatever is making dogs jump off that bridge to their deaths is still to this day unexplained. Joe McDamey was an infamous serial killer who not only cooked his victims to eat for himself, but also made them into burgers, using their remains. He then sold them to unsuspecting customers from a roadside food stand. We really never know what we eat. I'm cooking all my food myself. That's why I don't eat over people's house. In 2021, a new homeowner was shocked to find a boarded up wall. When he ripped the boards off the wall, he discovered a hole. In that hole was a doll clutching a note. The note saying that she killed a family who lived there in the 1960s. Be honest, would you move out?
I'm
In
out.
1978, there was a pilot named Frederick Valentin. Him and his plane disappeared in Australia. His last communication was, "Melbourne, that strange aircraft is hovering above me again." It is hovering, and it is not an aircraft. This is a mugshot of William West and William West. Oh, and they're not related at all, but they were both both sent to Leavenworth Prison at the exact same time in 1903. And after some confusion, the staff finally figured out they were two different people who had the exact same name and looked identical. This was said to be one of the main reasons why we now use fingerprints to identify somebody. There's biotech being developed as we speak that can make prisoners feel they are serving an 1,000-year sentence in a matter of 8 hours. That's horrifying. Imagine thinking you spent 1,000 years somewhere, and then when you wake up and snap out of it, you realize that it was only a couple hours. Do you know how...
After his pet hippo turned on him, Marius Els adopted 5-month-old baby Humphrey and took him to live in his 400-acre farm in South Africa. When Humphrey was a baby, everything was fine, but a lot of people warned Marius how dangerous Humphrey can become when he gets bigger. Marius ignored everyone and treated Humphrey like a pet. He would even ride on his back for fun and showed zero fear of this hippo. But it wasn't long until Humphrey got bigger and he eventually reached 1.2 tons and attacked Marius's nephew and almost killed him. But that's not all. In 2011, Humphrey attacked Marius in front of his family and took his life. This all happened when Marius called Humphrey to eat, and according to Marius's family, Humphrey's demeanor was different on this day, basically showing signs of aggression. Marius believed that his pet hippo would never betray him, so he ignored all these signs. When he continued to call Humphrey out of the water to eat, Humphrey suddenly stormed out and attacked Marius, biting into his body multiple times and then dragging him into the water. And this all happened in front of his family, the same people that warned Marius about Humphrey. What's crazy is that even though hippos look super sweet and cute compared to other wild animals, they actually kill more people each year than any other mammal on this planet. Just something to keep in mind.
They wild animals, man.
Greater Buenos Aires mysteriously turned red, sparking fears among locals of a toxic spill, according to local reports. Local media say that authorities have collected water samples to investigate the discoloration of the river, which flows into the Rio de la Plata and is near an ecological reserve, according to Reuters. Initial findings from government agencies suggest that the substance may not be toxic, according to Reuters.
Morbid facts.
It's not toxic, so so why is the water red? Maybe it's a sign. It was coming like, back in the old days, but there's something going on, man. That's in Rio too. I'm definitely going to have to freaking check up on that, man. My sensor's going off on that one.
Part 509. In 2016, Texas father Daniel Shaver was held up by police after he was seen pointing a pellet gun out of his hotel window. Several officers had rifles pointed at Schaefer in the hallway as he attempted to comply with them, but their commands were confusing and contradictory, especially since Shaver was drunk. For example, they told Shaver not to put his hands down for any reason before telling him to start crawling towards them. As Shaver was crawling and begging for his life, he reached back to pull his pants up and was killed instantly by Officer Philip Brailsford, who later claimed he thought Shaver was reaching for a weapon. Brailsford was charged with second-degree murder and found not guilty, since the full unedited footage wasn't released until hours after his acquittal. Brailsford was rehired by the department and reimbursed for all the medical expenses he paid, while seeking treatment for the PTSD he claimed he acquired from the shooting. Because of this, Brailsford was medically retired and now collects a $2,500 pension every month.
Man, that's a chilling story. And that's how, man, me personally, I ain't playing with no freaking BB guns and stuff like that, because people can misinterpret it and a real situation could happen. So I don't play with that stuff. It ain't worth it. You saw firsthand. Trust me, man. You know what this is.
This is what they meant when they said, don't talk to strangers. In the early 1900s, a 10-year-old boy was playing in the woods when a tall man appeared and asked if he wanted to come back to his cabin for dinner. Totally caught off guard, the boy reluctantly agrees and begins walking. When they get to the cabin, the boy is relieved when he sees Paul, a family friend, sitting on the porch, so the boy happily goes inside. After they eat, the boy says thank you to the strange tall man, says bye to Paul, and then he leaves.
He had only walked a few steps when he sees his family, along with Paul, running up the path towards him, frantically asking if he was okay. Confused, the boy says, "I'm just fine," and he looks at Paul and he's like, "Why didn't you tell them I was with you at the cabin?" And he points over his shoulder. Paul glances over the boy's shoulder and then narrows his eyes and says, "You were kidnapped by a cult 3 days ago. No one's seen you." Terrified, the boy turns around to look at the cabin he just came from, and it's gone. All he sees is a dark forest that stretches for miles.
What the hell?
Scary games you should never play. This is the cat scratch game. The game requires 2 players. Player 1, lie your back on the floor with your head resting on player 2's lap. Player 2 will recite one of these 2 stories while rubbing player 1's temples.
I never play any of these scary games that get suggested.
When player 2 has finished the story, stand up and pull up player 1's shirt. Their back should be covered in red claw marks. Many swear that whatever scratched them was something much more sinister than just a cat.
This is why it's always a bad idea to go to graveyards at night. Urban explorer Frank from Franco TV explored a graveyard in Peru. As he explores the area, he sees a group of people far in the corner. Not knowing what's going on and worried for his safety, he hides in a tomb waiting for them to leave. 30 minutes gone by, they turn off the lights and begin to leave. Scared someone may still be there, Frank waits 30 more minutes. As he makes his way to the tomb, what he finds is disturbing. Frank finds a circle of candles and what looks like a voodoo doll next to a star. He also finds a container with unknown contents. As Frank tries to communicate with the spirits in that area, he hears laughing coming from one of the graves. Worried for his safety, he decides to leave and says he doesn't want any problems or to be followed by anything there. As Frank makes his way out, he sees something horrifying. What looks like a person can be seen peeking at Frank from the corner of the tomb. But when he checks around the tomb, there's no one there.
Somebody was definitely still
Friendly
there.
reminder that if you're ever in Churchill, Canada, it is illegal, if not very frowned upon, to lock your car. The reason is so that if a polar bear comes after you, hiding in someone else's car might be your only option. Not only are polar bears one of the few animals that'll actively try to eat humans, since they can track prey from miles away, they'll smell you way before you see them. Remember, if it's brown, get on the ground. If it's black, fight back. Talking about bears. If it's white like an addict's nose, your casket finna be closed.
Okay, stay away from polar bears. Once again, noted. I didn't know there was a law, I guess, where it was at that you had to keep your car door open because if we get to attack you like that, man. I keep thinking about that meme, bro. What the hell is a polar bear doing in Arlington, Texas?
This is a test to see if you have healthy eyes. If you pass all 5 levels, your vision is perfect.
Let's do it.
All you have to do is pick one out of the 10 colors that is different from the rest. Starting off easy, you can clearly see that number 7 is lighter than the rest of them. 97% of people pass this stage, but it's about to get way harder. Okay, let's move on to medium. This one is a little more difficult and will require a little more attention. The correct answer is 2. Level advanced is even harder. Only 30% of people make it past this stage, so really focus and you'll see that the correct answer is 4. Superhuman. This level is really going to test your vision, and I know these look identical, but if you look closely, number 4 is slightly different. And the final level, impossible. 92% of people failed this level, and the answer is 10. Were you right? Comment below.
Oh, man. I tried to pass that test. I think the last one, that's what really got to me, bro. But I basically passed it all up until the last one, man. Did you guys keep up?
Don't even get me started on Laura Karen. That teacher was sexually assaulting a 13-year-old boy since he was 11 years old, got pregnant with his baby, and then wasn't even arrested until the baby was 5. And as of today, she has been released from jail. If you've never heard of Laura Karen, she worked at Middle Township Elementary School. She was a 5th grade teacher, meaning that she primarily worked with 10 to 11-year-old students. And from 2016 to 2020, she was sexually abusing a boy who she had had as a student. She had also had his brother in her class. And obviously it was before this all came out, but he, his brother, and his sister, so 3 siblings, actually went to go live in her home for a period of time. And that was between 2016 and 2020, and that is when things got really bad for that boy. According to his sister, when that boy would go into the bathroom to take a shower, Laura would go into the bathroom and lock the door. Additionally, all of the siblings shared a bedroom in her house. However, in the morning when the 2 other siblings would wake up, they would notice that their brother wasn't there, and their brother was in bed with Laura. She had become friends with the parents of those siblings, and she was actually trusted to be a resource parent. In New Jersey, the term resource parent is a synonym for foster parent. But Laura took that trust and completely violated it. She violated their son, and she managed to get away with it for years until December of 2024. That is when she was arrested. I believe it was December 17th. It was found out because the child that she had was a son who looked a lot like the son who she sexually abused. And he looked a lot like the victim's father, and understandably so. And the victim confirmed to his sister that he was the father. She appeared in court today, Tuesday, January 21st of 2025. The judge has ruled that she can be released as her case continues.
A teacher gave a final exam where students had to draw and achieve a high score in the shortest possible time. While walking around the classroom, the teacher noticed one student drawing in an incredibly surprising and unconventional way. The student used a ruler and 2 pens to make their drawing perfectly identical to the reference image. What do you think about this?
This is how you can get full control over your body. If you're ever feeling really stressed or anxious, I got you. All you have to do is slowly blow on your thumb for 30 seconds like this. This will slow down your heartbeat and calm your nerves so you won't have to worry anymore. Next, if you ever wake up in the morning and your hand or arm has fallen asleep, all you have to do is shake your head and it will quickly go away. But if your leg falls asleep, all you have to do is wiggle your toes and your leg will be back to normal right away. If you're ever sick to your stomach and you want to get feeling better quickly, listen up. Squeeze down your left thumb like this to deactivate your gag reflex so you won't gag. And place your thumb right here on your wrist to get rid of your nausea. Finally, eating peanut butter before you fall asleep at night could change your life. It's scientifically proven that eating peanut butter before you fall asleep can help you fall asleep much faster. And it will also give you insanely vivid dreams.
A rare and mysterious illness is currently sweeping through a city in India, leaving patients suddenly paralyzed and unable to control their body. With what began as a child struggling to hold their pencil in January, has now escalated into a full-scale medical emergency. Over 170 reported cases, dozens in intensive care, at least 5 suspected deaths, and even teams from the WHO arriving in Pune to investigate. But here's what makes this illness so terrifying. It has what's referred to as the Russian roulette effect. You see, the bacteria that can trigger the paralysis is everywhere. It's found in contaminated food and water, and most people consume it at some point in their life without even knowing. But for reasons that scientists still don't fully understand yet, only in a small percentage of cases, this bacteria can trigger Guillain-Barré syndrome, which causes the immune system to go rogue, shutting down your body piece by piece. For example, last month, a school teacher noticed that our 6-year-old son couldn't hold his pencil properly, and within days, his legs and arms stopped working. He lost the ability to swallow, speak, and eventually breathe, requiring ventilator support. At that stage, you can think of it like having sleep paralysis while being fully awake. Now, because there is no cure for GBS, early intervention is critical, and that's why authorities have now set up special hospital wards, launched mass water testing, and called in the WHO in efforts to contain the outbreak and prevent more lives being put at risk. As the situation develops, I'll keep you guys updated.
This preacher calls
keep me up to date.
Paranormal in church. Let's watch it together.
Well, hey everybody, Pastor Aaron here. It's my pleasure just to announce that this Sunday will be open.
Oh nah.
Okay, we've been trying to do this announcement several times today already, and 3 times that podium back there has fallen over on its own, and it's stable. I mean, it's not wobbly at all.
Leave the church. I would leave.
It's kind of like
I'm hitting the jets.
Wow. That podium has been wobbling. Okay, so we checked the vent. There's a vent there that is not an air duct that has any forced air at all, so it can't be wobbling from that. There's absolutely no breeze in here. You can see by the banner there.
Call Ghostbusters.
This no air conditioning. It's these things, they're off. I don't know. So I'm just gonna sit here and watch it for a little bit, and we will. Let's see if it does it again.
Oh nah, I'm leaving.
Nothing's moving. That isn't moving.
I'm leaving. You see that?
He's still there.
There's seriously nothing else. There's no breeze. It's moving again.
It's time to go.
Oh yeah, I'm out.
Have
I'm
you ever
in the
seen a boarding
Jets.
pass that's so big it could double as a billboard? Well, one man's oversized ticket has taken the internet by storm. This hilarious moment was caught on camera in an airport when a guy rolled up to the gate with what might just be the world's most dramatic boarding pass. Of course, it wasn't long before a very confused officer had to step in. While people who saw the huge boarding pass thought it was a joke, the passenger was completely serious. But as for the officer, he was trying his hardest to not crack up while keeping the situation serious. This lady just broke a Guinness World of Record by eating cotton candy. Meet Leia Shutkeever, a speed eater extraordinaire who just devoured an insane amount of cotton candy in only 60 seconds, shattering the Guinness World Record. But the best part? When she was presented with the Grinchy treat, she had one simple question. Why is it green? David Wilson, the adjudicator, couldn't help but respond with a smile and said, "It's quite Grinchy."
Why is it green? It's quite grinchy. It is quite grinchy.
To break the record, Leia had to demolish at least 45 grams of this sticky sweet green goo in under a minute. And did she? Of course she did, leaving her with sticky fingers and a sticky face. But Leia isn't just about cotton candy. She's also set records for inhaling 19 chicken nuggets in a minute and 10 Jolly Donuts in 3 minutes.
Damn, speed eating? I couldn't do that, man. She broke all those records. She got a talent, bro. She's talented. Gotta give it that. I gotta get that to her.
We now actually know what happens when we die. In some of the biggest news of the century, we've now got evidence suggesting that your life carries on after you die, and it gets a lot crazier than that. Make sure you share this video with your friends and family, because you don't want to miss this. So an old woman was passing away, and as she died, they had her hooked up to a machine which was monitoring her brain. Now what scientists got from these scans after she passed away was these photos, which don't look like much right now. But what these show is that a part of the brain, specifically the part of the brain that processes memories and experiences, was still active after death for around 8 minutes. And this is crazy because years ago I made a video saying about the 8 minutes after death and how your brain is still active. They did tests before on a man who died and found similar things, but nothing as concrete as this. As I say, from these scans, it showed that the brain was still active for around 8 minutes after this woman passed away. And specifically that she was processing memories, i.e. her life, flashing before her eyes, the common term you've probably heard. So this suggests that when you pass away, your life does flash before your eyes. You get memory flashbacks and maybe relive parts of your life. It also links into the theory I've spoken about before and many people have said. Think about when you have a dream. Sometimes dreams can feel really real and time's different, time dilation of course. Sometimes you'll have a dream, it feels like an hour, but you wake up and it's been about 2 minutes. Well, the same might be happening in this 8 minutes after death. Reliving memories, what feels like days, weeks, but it's only in the 8 minutes. Or maybe even like a lucid dream, creating some sort of new reality. So what's to say you're not dead right now in that 8 minutes, and this is all just a figment of your imagination.
What are the chances of two rivers?
That brings up a good point, man, especially at the end. That's like the simulation theory. That's what I got. But life, we heard before, you know, like your life flashed before your eyes. Guess there's some truth to that. We learning today.
2,000 miles apart, mysteriously turning blood red at the same time. And we don't know the cause for either. Worried residents in both Lima, Peru and Buenos Aires, Argentina have shared footage online reporting strong odors accompanying the discoloration. One local described the scene saying, "It looks like a stream of blood. We have never seen it like this." Now, while we don't know for sure what's caused either yet, I wouldn't go as far as saying it's a scene from a biblical prophecy. I'll just leave that there for a second. Rather, in Peru, environmental experts believe that it could be caused by pollutants discharged from mines and drainage pipes flowing into the river. Despite this, local water supplier, Sidapal, assured the public that the water is still safe to drink. And they better be bloody right, because this river is one of the country's most important water sources. And then for the river in Argentina, authorities suspect the presence of aniline, which is a toxic substance used in dyes, and they believe that it could have been dumped there by local companies. But then again, if Jesus did want to come back, it's not a bad time.
Those freaking two rivers turn red connected.
Susan Lewis and her daughter Jamie moved into a new home in Southern California, and shortly after moving in, Susan's new boyfriend Matt, he moved in as well. Also Matt had a daughter named Marie who was the same age as Jamie. A few weeks after moving in, Susan goes into the kitchen and she sees on the counter that a peanut butter jar had its lid off and had been turned on its side. Peanut butter seemed to be running out of the jar like it had been melted. So she figures one of the kids must have come in here and for whatever reason microwaved the peanut butter and then dumped it on the counter. And Jamie would say that she literally laughed at her mom, like, why would I do that? And Marie too is like, no, I didn't touch the peanut butter. And all four of them spend the rest of the day goofing around outside near the pool. Later that day, they find that there have been cans that you would keep in your pantry, like canned food, stacked on each of the steps leading upstairs. They also find that there have been random objects placed all over the house in strange patterns. Hairbrushes arranged in a star pattern on the counter. They open the microwave and find peanut butter jars and other random canned foods and stuffed animals from the kids' rooms in the microwave. The cleaning materials underneath the sink had been pulled out and arranged in a height line from shortest to tallest. They think that someone's invaded their house, so they run back out again, and no one's come near their property. Ultimately just kind of moved on. In the last couple of weeks that they ever stayed at this house, because they would leave, two major events occurred. The first one happened when Marie was home alone. She's sitting in the living room watching TV, and at some point the TV starts turning off and on. And the TV finally just turns off. She can't get it on. She reaches for the remote. The remote flies off the table as all the pictures on the walls just start one by one falling off the wall. She takes her camera in her hand and kind of turns it and just starts taking pictures of the room. There are these weird orbs of light that are very clearly in the room with her. The second major event that occurred in those final 2 weeks, Jamie was in her room and she starts hearing pounding on her door. She started filming this pounding on her door.
Seen this firsthand.
And so she didn't open the door, and she went back onto her bed, and she just sat there in the fetal position for 3 hours, listening to something smashing nonstop into the door. She opens the door, and there's no one there. But the door on the outside, where the knocking had been happening, there's this huge dent and divot in the door. She sees that now there is a frying pan sitting in the hall that has a toilet paper roll completely on fire. Grabs a sweatshirt and she smothers the fire. And she goes outside defeated and just sits on the front steps of her house. Jamie explains what happens and that was it. And so they barely packed up and they left that house. It didn't sell. Susan literally went bankrupt. And soon after they left the neighborhood, their neighbors left the neighborhood and 5 other neighbors in their immediate vicinity all left. All of the houses did not sell.
Make you seem super cool and likable. In an average lifespan, a person breathes in around 45 pounds of dust and debris. You know how they say dogs' mouths are cleaner? That's because there's more bacteria in a person's mouth than there is people in Canada and the US combined. A man can grow up to 6 feet of nose hair in their lifetime and up to a 30-foot long beard if he never shaves. And if you ever wanted to swim in a pool of saliva, it would only take one person at the age of 60 to have produced enough saliva in his lifetime to fill up 2 pools. By the age of 60, a person will have lost 50% of their taste buds. That explains why old people like grits so much. The ear is actually really fragile, and it only takes about 7 pounds of force to rip your ear off.
That's scary to think about.
Most common zodiac signs amongst different types of people. Billionaires, Leo. Serial killers, Pisces. Famous people, Aries. Major CEOs, Capricorns. Psychopaths, Scorpios. Need help with your homework? Click the link in our bio.
Hey man, wish I saw him, bro. Cause mine was Leo billionaire. What the hell? That's some good fortune. I got some good luck on my side. That's going for me. Hey, Seekers, wish I saw down below. I want to know, what was you guys, I guess, on that.
Here are secrets hidden in everyday things. Part 2. The cereal that we eat has a magnetic force to it. If you were to take a metal rod and place it a few inches toward a floating cereal flake, it would follow the magnet. This is because our cereals contain iron, which is added during food production. If you ever wondered why movie theater seats are usually red, it's because in the 18th century, Italian opera houses had red seats as a way to attract wealthy theater goers. That, and red has a longer wavelength for our eyes to detect. And this makes it harder to see in the dark. So when the lights go down in the movie theater, it'll all be dark. If you were to take a Coca-Cola, place it in a bowl, and then put it into a solution that contains sodium hydroxide, the can will go through a chemical reaction that causes the aluminum can to dissolve, and revealing a plastic lining. And this shows how acidic the drink really is. items. And the colorful bread tags mean a lot more than just sealing the bread in a plastic package. The different colors are meant to help employees know when to restock the bread, but they can also help customers shop smarter. You see, each color represents a different day of the week the bread was baked. Blue for Mondays, green for Tuesdays, red for Thursdays, white for Fridays, and yellow for Saturdays. So the next time you shop for bread, you can find out which loaf is the freshest.
This is why you
I think the one that got to me the most, Seekers, is saying that there was iron in our cereal. I had no idea. I actually have to test that, man. Like, if I put a magnet in the cereal and see if it actually follows it. Considering that much iron, bro. The more you know.
always want to double check before getting into your car. 18-year-old Peyton Washington was shot 3 times after her and her friend entered a car that they thought was theirs. On April 2023, Peyton and her friend Heather were carpooling on their way home from cheer practice when Heather opened a car door that she thought was hers. 25-year-old Pedro Rodriguez was in the passenger seat, and once Heather realized that it wasn't her car, she apologized and walked away. But Pedro did not let that slide. Instead, he came out of his car and began shooting at the teens. The girls quickly got into their car and drove away, but Peyton was shot in the leg and back. She suffered life-threatening injuries and was airlifted to a nearby hospital. Her injuries were so bad that her spleen had to be removed, and now Pedro was charged with deadly conduct, and he may be spending 10 years in prison if convicted. But you know what, guys? This actually happens more often than you think. I remember a couple years ago when I was just chilling in my car at night and 2 random men just came in and thought I was their Uber. I was caught off guard and I was ready to just jump out of my car. And then we kind of looked at each other and one of the guys was like, "This is our Uber, right?" And I'm like, "No, this is not your Uber." It's a fight or flight situation. That's how I felt in the moment. But in this case, these girls, they apologized, closed the car door, and walked away. And this guy still came after them with a gun and shot them. So I don't know. I can't justify that.
You can't. And he's only going to get 10 years for that? I'm telling you, man, the justice system, it's like this sometimes. Twin paradox theory.
Let me get a pair of twins. All right? They're born the same time, they're the same age. And now one of them I will send off at 90% the speed of light. And the other I'll keep down here on Earth. So we can ask, how does their aging rates compare? Okay? Turns out, this twin that I've already sent, his clock ticks 44% as fast as this twin's clock. Our clock, here on Earth.
Okay.
So, this twin is aging more slowly than this one. That's at 90% the speed of light. Let's pump it up some more. How about 99% the speed of light? Now the time ticks at only 14% the rate, as it does back here on Earth. How about 99.9%? We're getting closer and closer to the speed of light itself. And at that speed, the clock ticks only 4.5% as fast. So, what does this mean? I'll tell you what it means. This twin that traveled for 5 years and comes back, if they went at 99.9% the speed of light, after 5 years, they're 5 years older.
Whoa.
We have aged 110 years.
Damn, what the hell?
It's called the twin paradox.
These are the top 5 worst zodiac
Okay.
signs. Number 5, Virgo. Nothing wrong with them, but they take everything way too personally. Sorry. Number 4, Taurus. They're just very stubborn people and will probably hold a grudge. Very frustrating. Number 3, Gemini. These people are very two-faced or have 2 sides. You never know which one you're gonna get. Number 2, Libra. They just have problems with commitment and probably are talking to more than one person. And number 1, Leo. They're just way too dramatic about literally everything. Straight up.
This is how a fight over a parking spot led to this man losing his life. On March 8th, 2020, 19-year-old Ricky Lafargue took a parking spot that 31-year-old Tuan Nguyen and his wife were waiting for at the Lenox Square shopping mall in Atlanta. Immediately after this happened, both Ricky and Tuan said some things to each other, but then they both went their separate ways and entered the mall at different times. You would think that they would go on about their days and forget this ever happened, but that wasn't the case. Ricky Ricky, who was with 4 of his friends, later decided to follow Tuan out of the mall and confront him again. During the altercation, Ricky pulled out his handgun and shot Tuan in the back of the head, instantly taking his life. Then the 4 men tried to flee in their SUV, but then they crashed, so they ran away and Ricky dropped his hat and the gun. Ricky's defense argued that he tried to hit Tuan with the gun and it accidentally went off. But the surveillance footage in the mall clearly shows what exactly happened. And what's so shocking about this is that this man did all of this in broad daylight with so many witnesses.
It was pure evil. With a gun pointed to the back of that victim's head when you pulled the trigger and killed a man, leaving his family and his child with their father.
Ricky, who is now 24 years old, was finally sentenced and the judge gave him life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Sometimes
Overall parking
when
space,
dogs have
man.
to look very mean and threatening, they actually have to redo their tails with CGI because they won't stop wagging because they're doing such a good job acting. When bees run into each other, they actually make like a little whoop sound. Fish are actually able to recognize their owners. There's this weird misconception with people that they think that fish can't see out of the glass of their aquarium, but they actually have surprisingly good eyesight.
Really? Okay. The more you know.
I was going to talk about snakes, and because you asked so politely, I'm going to ruin your day. Here's all the ways this snake can turn you into an... Actually, let's do something different. This is a hog-nosed snake, although I like to call him the possum tail. Why? This anxiety noodle's so afraid of the world. If they get pressed by it like a kitten, they'll straight up fake their own death. I'm talking about they'll fully commit to it. They'll release the smell of expiration, if you know what I mean. They'll let their tongues hang out of their mouths like a cartoon. Hoggies will even straight up deuce themselves in the process, just to sell it, right out of the possum playbook. You see, the garter snake had a problem. They hibernate, and when they come out, the ratio can be something like hundreds of males for just one female. So to fight statistics, some snakes will cosplay as a female. They'll even release the same pheromones as a female, and will use that to lead a bunch of guys on. And right when the down bad Medusa braids are about to tie themselves into a knot, the cross-dressing male snake slips away to hook up with the actual she-snake. Speaking of mother snakes, turns out there's snakes that actually will look after their kids, and I don't just mean babysitting eggs. Snakes like the African rock python will look after their little snakelets a couple weeks after they hatch, which makes it a snake anomaly. The smallest snake in the world is the Barbados thread snake, which can comfortably sleep on a quarter. It's believed there's a type of snake that has this weird odd couple type relationship with screech owls, where the owls keep blind snakes in their nest to be housekeepers to basically eat all the stuff that can make the little owlet sick. In exchange, the snakes get free room and board as well as the added bonus of not getting put on a shirt. You ever see a snake drinking water? No? Well, here you go, and the more you know.
Wow. I never knew the smallest snake could be on a damn quarter. That's mind blown.
In movies where they use dogs as actors, editors have to commonly CGI another tail on the dog because they won't stop wagging. Because guinea pigs are considered very social animals, it is illegal and considered animal abuse in Switzerland to own just one. All of the cardigans Mr. Rogers wore on camera were knit by his mother. Bees take naps in flowers. This penguin that lives in Norway was actually recently officially knighted. Otters hold each other's hands when they sleep so that their mate won't float away. Van Gogh didn't start painting until his late 20s. Whatever you're going through in life right now, it's not going to last forever. Follow for more.
Hey man, that Van Gogh tip, I guess it just goes to show you, man, it doesn't matter, I guess, how old you are. If you want to achieve something, do something, it's never too late, man, to follow your dreams, to do what you want to do.
Wholesome facts that'll make your day slightly better, part 1.
Okay.
When a human sees a puppy, a chemical called dopamine is released in the brain. Elephants also release dopamine when they see people, meaning that they think we're cute in the same way we think puppies are cute. There's a YouTube channel called Dad, How Do I that teaches young people things that would typically be taught by a father figure. From how to change a tire to how to tie a tie, fans of the channel think it's super helpful. When you're on a walk with your dog and they stop to take a dump, you may notice that your fluffy friend is staring at you as they poop. They do this because they're in a defenseless position and they're trusting you to keep them safe. There are more public libraries in the US than McDonald's. After the horrific events of 9/11, a small Kenyan tribe known as the Maasai people gave 14 cows to the US in their support. The man who played Mickey Mouse ended up marrying the woman who played Minnie Mouse, meaning that true love actually exists.
What do you know, man?
Fun facts you wouldn't believe are true. Godzilla is an actual citizen of Japan. Some species of jellyfish are actually immortal. The patent for a fighting fire hydrant was destroyed in a fire. Outer space is only 62 miles away. You could drive there in an hour. If you flattened your lungs out, they would have about the same surface area as a tennis court. Saturn is the lightest planet. If there was a big enough body of water, it would float. An astronaut spacesuit runs about $12 million. The moon looks close, but you can actually fit every planet in the solar system between the Earth and the moon. In a lab here on Earth, scientists created a plasma that reached a temperature of 9.9 trillion degrees Fahrenheit. Over 50,000 people on Earth have alien abduction insurance policies.
For the first time in Japan,
What the
right
hell?
now, diapers for adults are starting to outsell diapers for babies. The country's birth rate hit yet another all-time low last year, and estimates show that in less than 50 years, 40% of their population will be over the age of 65. Diaper maker OG Holdings announced last year that they would stop making nappies for babies and instead focus on ones for adults, and another said that their revenue from adult diaper sales is already double that of those meant for babies. And the thing is, it's not just Japan. Birth rates are falling in countries around the world, not Nigeria though, and by 2050, research from the Lancet shows over 3/4 of the world's countries will not have high enough fertility rates to sustain their population size over time. So if we don't go out with a bang, let's try not go out with the wind part.
It's crazy. I didn't know that the freaking world's, I guess, birth rate's declining. What do you guys think's going on, Seekers? Too many people inside? It's crazy to think about, man. We could have a collapse like that. Edit.
You ever stop and think about the random animal rivalries of nature the average person knows nothing about? Take the leopard, arguably the most talented life taker in the feline family. Not only does a rosette warrior, those are rosettes, occupy more real estate than any other big cat. They have by far the longest grocery list, but not 20, not 30, but over 90 different animals in their diet. Not to mention from spending 0 hours in the gym, leopards might just have the craziest deadlift. Now take baboons, a pack-loving primate that weaponizes the always OP power of friendship. You see, divided baboons are leopard lunch meat. United in the baboon mafia can, will, and have jumped looming leopards and left them with a life lesson. And with more canines in the cop unit, baboons are not pushovers. Hey, but don't feel too bad for the leopard. Her luck changes as soon as the sun goes down. Leopards have overpowered night vision, and you'd be right if you said they abuse it. They'll make sure that you push their food shopping in the darkest conditions possible. We're talking about an aerial assassin parkouring from branch to branch like an Olympic-level gymnast, and that's how a member of the monkey militia can get turned into mincemeat. So when it comes to leopards and baboons, yeah, it's on sight. That conflict is generational. But you gotta remember, they're just two animals trying to survive. You can root for the monkey, but just know, every time the baboon gets away, that's a leopard cub that has sleeper dinner. And mama leopard can't provide for her family without possibly turning a monkey minor into an orphan. Leopards and baboons are just two of the thousands of mammals navigating the gauntlet of the wild. And to see them and many more in action, Mammals is a series narrated by the always transcendent Sir David Attenborough, launching this July on BBC America, AMC Plus, and other platforms worldwide. And with some rarely ever recorded footage like this, yeah, it's not something you want to miss. You know.
Photos that seem really innocent, but are actually heartbreaking. Part 1. This is Magda Newman, and she seems like a perfectly happy, normal pregnant woman who's about to become a mom. However, her giving birth would be anything but normal, and that moment that was supposed to be so special soon turned into something terrifying. Magda went into labor for nearly 17 hours, and when she gave birth, she realized that something was very wrong. She quickly realized that the baby wasn't breathing or crying, and the baby's face was severely disfigured with no ears, no cheekbones, and no eye sockets. It turns out her baby was born with a super rare genetic disorder called Treacher-Collins syndrome, and if doctors didn't act fast, the baby would soon be dead from lack of oxygen. The baby's name was Nathaniel, and by the time he was 1 year old, he'd already gone through 11 different surgeries. And by the time he was 11, he already went through 54 different major surgeries. This story does have a happy ending, because today Nathaniel's living a perfectly normal life. Nathaniel even has a book and a movie made after him called Wonder, and his story continues to inspire countless people around the world to this day.
Okay, so that's what the movie's based on.
Secretly changed. Part 3. First, Pringle cans have shrunk. Since 2016, they've shrunk in width from 5.2 ounces to 4.7 ounces. Now, the company says that this is because their new manufacturing company in Malaysia has different equipment. But it doesn't excuse the fact that you can fit one of the new cans into an original can perfectly. Even the chips themselves have shrunk too. Gatorade has also fallen victim to shrinkflation by giving their customers less energy. They released new bottle designs in 2022, and while it's the same height, they decreased the amount of liquid contained by 14%. And they tricked customers into paying a slightly higher price by making it look like it had the same amount as the original bottle. Toblerone in 2016 changed the formation of its triangular bar, giving us less chocolate in the process. You see, they took out 2 of the peaks and widened the gaps between the remaining ones, and this reduced the cost of production by 10%. But yet they dare to still charge us the same price and keep them in their original packaging. And in 2016, Kraft Mac and Cheese removed its artificial preservative flavors from its recipe and decided to add more natural ingredients like turmeric and paprika. And this was after parents started to show concern for what their kids were putting into their bodies. However, just because these ingredients are more natural doesn't mean they weren't enhanced in labs. And no one noticed the change because it still tastes the same.
Here are historical facts.
Man, the things these companies, bro, will do order to freaking make a quick buck, bro, and freaking produce the on their side how much they spend and still charge the same price, man. I haven't even noticed that with the Pringle cans. It's actually insane to think about, man.
I wish I didn't know. Number 1, King Herod executed his wife and then preserved her body in honey for 7 years. Some people even claim he had relations with it. Number 2, in 1184, a bunch of nobles met in a church in Erfurt, Germany. Their weight made the floor collapse, they fell into the latrine below, and many of them drowned in liquid poop. Number 3, Rasputin once bragged about not changing his underwear for 6 months, and food would often rot in his beard. Number 4, Lady Caroline Lamb was so obsessed with her ex-lover, Lord Byron, that she once sent him clippings of her pubic hair. Number 5, William Randolph Hearst is the inspiration behind Citizen Kane, the movie where Rosebud is famously a sled. In real life, Rosebud was reportedly Hearst's nickname for his mistress Marion Davies, but he referred to her lady parts. Number 6, Catherine Medici was just 14 when she married, but on her wedding night, her father-in-law stayed in the bedroom and watched until the marriage was fully consummated. Public weddings were a big thing. On William of Orange's wedding night, King Charles II watched from the sidelines and shouted encouragement. Number 7, Mozart loved bathroom humor and wrote letters to his family describing his farts in great detail.
Back in the day, man, was weird secrets.
This is wild. An engineering company in Bharuch, India announced that they will be holding open interviews for 10 new positions at the company. But then, the next day, reports say that over 1,800 people showed up. Videos from outside the hotel where the interviews were taking place show so many people squeezed on the platform that the metal railing eventually broke, sending people flying off the edge. Reports say that the company was so overwhelmed by the amount of people showing up that they closed their doors to the whole of the interviews, leading to the situation you see here. Politicians in India were quick to use this video to highlight the problems in India's job market right now.
The biggest lottery winners and where they are now. In 2008, Jonathan Vargas became the youngest Powerball jackpot winner ever when he won $35.3 million at just 19 years old. The first thing he did with the money was buy his mom a brand new house and buy himself a Range Rover and a mansion. He then decided to fulfill his childhood dream and created his own wrestling TV show called Wrestlicious Takedown. The show featured scantily dressed women and sketch comedy, but apparently that wasn't enough to make it successful. It was quickly met with incredibly bad reviews, and after just 1 season, the show was cancelled. All of his other investments eventually failed as well, which reportedly left him bankrupt.
Hey, man. These freaking Powerball winners, when they be winning, man, PPP, I guess trying to advise them, they would just be going crazy with that money, but you saw, man, when the investments fall flat, it's gonna go down here, bro. That's an edit.
Let's talk about one of the most interesting and disturbing individuals in human history, Terrare, the man who could eat anything. Terrare was a Frenchman born around the year 1772 in the city of Lyon. From a young age, he developed an unusually large appetite, and as a result of this, his parents couldn't afford to provide for him, and as a young teen, he was kicked out of his house and told to fend for himself.
Damn.
As he grew older, his appetite grew with him, and he began to resort to eating grotesque things like live animals, whole cats, dogs, and even barrels full of corpse. As a way to make some money, Terrare began to work as a street performer, eating whatever people would give to him. However, even this was not enough to satisfy his appetite, and he would often resort to digging through the trash in order to find extra scraps of food on his off time. After the War of First Galatians broke out, Terrare enlisted in the military and began to work as a spy. He would swallow important documents, carry them across enemy lines, and then deliver them to officials on the other side. However, having no other qualifications, this didn't last very long, and he was eventually put into a military hospital due to his condition.
During his stay at the Institute, they would perform a series of bizarre experiments in an attempt to cure him of his appetite. However, nothing worked, and after he was caught drinking the blood of other patients and accused of eating a toddler, they expelled him from the hospital. Just 4 short years later, Terrare caught a case of severe tuberculosis and died a rather gruesome death, which I will not discuss here. Comment what the weirdest thing you've ever eaten is, and follow for more.
Seekers, what is the weirdest thing you have ever eaten, man? I need you guys to tell me down below. That, man, that's an eerie story. He could eat anything. I have animals and all that. Yes.
What monster plans the murder of their child on Halloween? This disturbed man named Ronald Clark O'Brien. On Halloween in 1974 in Deer Park, Texas, Ronald took his 8-year-old son's life by giving him this candy that was filled with cyanide. From the outside in, Ronald seemed to have a pretty good life. He was married and had 2 kids, Timothy, who was 8 years old, and his daughter Elizabeth. He had a great job as an eye doctor, but Ronald was $94,000 in debt and he needed a way out. On this night, Ronald took his 2 kids to go trick-or-treating, and along came his neighbor with his kids as well. The routine that night was that Ronald would walk to the front doorstep with the kids to collect the candy while his neighbor stayed behind. In one of those house visits, Ronald managed to slip a few pixie sticks filled with cyanide in the kids' candy bag and made it seem like one of the houses gave it to them. When the kids got home, Timothy asked his father to open some candy, and Ronald purposely opened a pixie stick and gave it to Timothy and watched him eat it. Within just 1 hour, Timothy became extremely sick and passed away in the ambulance. Medical records quickly revealed that Timothy was poisoned with cyanide. Once they discovered that the cyanide was inside this specific candy, Ronald claimed that he got it from a house that they visited on that night. But after investigating, they discovered that no one was even in that house on that night, so Ronald was lying. The investigation turned towards Ronald and they discovered that he was asking around where he could find cyanide. But he became even more suspicious when they found out that he was in so much debt and that he took out a $20,000 life insurance policy on both his kids. And he took out this policy a month before Timothy passed away. And it gets worse. Ronald also called the life insurance company the morning after Timothy passed away to collect the money. He was charged with 1 count of murder and 4 counts of attempted murder and was sentenced to death. Ronald was executed in 1984, but he kept his innocence until the day he died.
Things people do for money, man. It's the root of all evil. Well, that's what I be saying. Actually insane, man. Seekers, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, your true seekers seeking the truth. I really appreciate the support, man. Like I said, guys, I try to drop videos every single day, so always make sure to check the channel at least once a day, because you guys know I'm going to drop a banger for you guys. Comment down below, man. Hit that like button. Follow me on my social medias. You guys can catch you in the next one, man. Let's continue to grow. Let's continue to grind together, seekers. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.